What?
I'm just giggling because I had your webcam off by default, and so it's just not showing. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to
Oh, yeah,
Whale
good morning.
Watch. We'll get Tucker's face in here in a moment.
It's not that big
Maybe.
a deal.
I
Who
don't even know
cares?
why it's not doing the thing. What the fuck is going on?
What is going on today?
Wait, are
Try-
we live on
I think we're live.
Yeah, we're live. Yeah, we're live.
Oh.
There's just no Tucker because
Okay.
I can't get his
Oh,
camera to
boy.
work for some reason. But hey, good morning, everybody. We got a little bit of a special episode today. I'll be interviewing the CIO of TemaETFs in about an hour and 20 minutes, going over space innovation and investment. But up until then, we're going to do our normal shenanigans while I try to fix Tucker's camera here. It won't even let me edit your camera. That's crazy shit right there. Yeah, let me see if it's here. Is it here?
Yeah, you still gotta share your screen. Too.
Properties. Why won't this work?
That's the least of our worries right now, Anthony. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's actually true.
Okay.
That's
okay.
fine, but like we don't really care.
Properties.
Okay, I found all stream.
Properties.
Wait, why?
That. All right, now you guys got a full screen, Tucker.
On.
I'm just gonna
on
have
sub-
to. I'm just
Oh.
gonna have to remake your camera.
Now it's just me on Substack.
Jeez.
Okay, yeah, everything. The stream's totally screwed up.
What do you mean?
It's just showing Riverside window and me.
Well, yeah, because I'm fixing your. I'm making a new camera.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm making a completely new thing for your camera because it busted for some reason, and they all just get to watch it happen. They get to see the behind the scenes.
Whoa, I'm so
live.
huge. Jesus Christ.
Hey,
You know, this
relax,
probably wouldn't have
relax.
happened if Tucker wouldn't have took a couple days off.
Yeah, that's also true.
All right. You know what?
See if I can make you. No, you're gonna have to. You're gonna have to be a big boy today, Tucker. We'll fix this later. Oh shit. Because we still have a show to do, and we'll just have a goofy looking Tucker down there. That'll be fine. That's all right. He's goofy looking anyway. It's all right.
That's okay. That's okay.
Giant ass Tucker head. Giant ass. Yeah, I'm not fucking with this anymore. Whatever.
fine. It looks good
Whatever.
enough. It's good
Whatever. It's fine. It's fine. Anthony, did you have any banging flow? I do wonder if we had anything on SPCE sympathy garbage going on. Also, real quick, I'm gonna tell Nate not to just pop in today.
Just pops in when you're doing the
Yeah.
the interview with the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
was he
Tucker, you
doing that
missed it.
last
Nate.
week?
Oh yeah,
He popped
he
in
popped in at a
on
random
Wednesday.
and talked some shit. It was fun and funny. It was fine. Just today ain't the day.
Yeah.
It was like at the end of the stream, and all of a sudden we just heard like somebody like blabbing. I was like, "Who the hell is that?"
I'm gonna assume all the feeds
Here
are still
comes Nate.
fine, even though my back. No, yep, we're good. All right, dope. I'm gonna get the Twitter folk in line here. Let them know that we are live. Special space innovation and investment interview with TemaETFs. Dope. Yeah, this is essentially the stuff I usually do before the show even starts, folks. But I suck today,
Yeah.
so that didn't happen. So you just get to look at us while I do the preemptive show shit for like a minute here.
Just put the Jeopardy music back on the background. At this point, man, happy SpaceX Day, SpaceX IPO Day.
I mean, you know.
I mean, I'm not touching it.
I'm not touching that shit, dude.
I mean,
Anytime there's an IPO, we get that good old-fashioned ripper to the upside, followed by a nice little bed shitter. Well, I'm not touching it, personally.
yeah,
I generally
valuation's crazy,
prefer
too.
to wait until something like that is optionable, and then I'll try to play some reaction to the news, the launch, what have you. But today, I will not be touching it myself, but we will. In about an hour and 15 minutes, for those just joining, we'll be interviewing the CIO of TemaETFs about space innovation and investment. In the meantime, we're going to do our normal shtick and look at some open interest changes here as we head into market open. We'll take some trades and whatnot up until 10:30 Eastern when this interview will take place. And so let's get our giggles out of our system now because we gotta be chill for the interview. You know. I gotta put on my like FOMC pants and pretend that I'm a serious person.
Oh man, it's FOMC next week too.
Yeah,
Oh, don't
dude.
remind me.
Yeah, dude.
It saves you a day of the maid dress though. Another day.
Yeah. It's looking like we're gonna do that on the 24th, just because we have FOMC next week. We have our 2 other normal shows, and I think a short week, right?
Yeah, we're off Friday.
Yeah, Friday's off, so let's do.
on Friday. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
let's
yeah.
do Wednesday the 24th. Wednesday the 24th, you guys get to see me be all cute. We'll
Oh.
we'll do that. It's locked in. I'll even get it scheduled with that beautiful thumbnail that Tucker made. We'll do the 24th. 24th is locked in. Tell your friends that there's going to be an idiot trading in a maid dress on June 24th. But in the meantime, what are you looking at here with that SPCE? Let's see if we got any space sympathy dog shit from yesterday.
This one's a little older here. This one came in on the 5th here. It's one that I kind of pointed out to Snore yesterday in his stream. And hey, for the note, you made him laugh.
I know,
so,
dude.
You know, that's...
Anthony was trying to like Snorlax was having tech issues this time. And Anthony was trying to trap me into extra made episodes for each minute he was late. And I was like, if I make him laugh, all of this is moot. And I made him laugh, so it worked out. You guys only get to see it once.
Paid him under the table. Probably sent him a message.
It's not that hard to make you laugh.
No,
not
Snorlax.
me. Snore.
Oh, my
Yeah.
bad.
No,
Okay.
making Anthony laugh is like all you have to do is like fart slightly, and Anthony will piss his pants.
It's Seth Rogen going on here. Anyways, yeah.
Moving on. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Oof, it's a Friday.
I did say we got to get the giggles out of our system before the interview with Yuri. So that's fair. That's fair. All right. SPCE $17 call for July. Had some action. Several days
came in on the 5th. Right. Yeah, this was a little position builder here. Started on the 3rd there. You had most of that volume carry over. Significant chunk there on the 4th carryover, and then your 5th there. I thought these were funny just because they were at the time like 290% out of the money, but yeah, they almost hit 100% yesterday on there. I mean, your average of they did hit just a little over 100% there. Yeah, that's absolutely.
And dare I say, for the most part, still open.
Yep. And we know they can't exercise them because they're still 231% out of the money.
That's the crazy part. Like, they made 100% on something that is so out of the money, but also it's a bit of a volatility play in general, even if it's not a straight up sympathy play. Look at the implied volatility on that shit as they filled. Go ahead and scroll down in that historical volume. Oh my God.
Yeah.
320% implied volatility. That's crazy. That's really, really high. You're going to see some whiplash just from theta as time goes on these. But I mean, they got their bag over 100% right out of the gate there. But again, all still open. This whole position's still open. At most, 2,000 contracts, maybe 3,000 total came off, but they're now in a new position anyway, because you can see that implied volatility didn't change all that much. Yeah, I mean, good for this person. Sorry if you guys can hear the dump trucks outside. It's garbage day. They'll be hopefully done before the interview, so you're.
But we can hear a dump truck every time you talk.
Hey!
Jeez.
I thought you were just talking about my cheeks clapping.
I am, yeah.
Marion Gramada says, good morning from Prague. Oh, man, all the way across the sea. Good morning. Unless it's like some random vague-ass Prague, USA, and it's like how there's a Paris, Texas.
That's true. That's one.
That'd be interesting.
He's just like, I'm from Prague, Wyoming. I'm like, wait a minute.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure there is there might be.
There's got to be, or like a new. There's got to be something. But I'm assuming homie's the real deal.
The real Prague.
The real Prague. The
real Prager.
Was there anything more obvious than this one? This one was clean. I gotta be honest. This is pretty clean. These are really clean entries. Again, up 100% from the original fills. About 100%.
Yeah.
It looks nice.
How about we ask Mr. Whale here? Because that's kind of the only space flow that I really saw that hit my filters. Let's see. What space X-related names. I'm gonna see if it pulls it up like that instead of just actually saying like space. Space had clean flow over the last week.
Clean is
with
super vague. I'm
volume.
curious to see what it does with it. Oh, you're going to break it down for it, actually. Go ahead and break it down for it. We don't got to fuck around. We only got 10 minutes till the open. I'll probably be punting some NASDAQ at the open. We'll see what happens. SpaceX is going to cause some weirdness today, I think.
Yeah.
To say the least. IPOing at 135 a share. We'll see how long that lasts. I'm not chasing it. I'm not chasing it. I'll just let it happen.
Oops. I hit enter instead of
Anybody who did put in to get shares of SpaceX, I hope you get them, and I hope it moons like crazy for you in the beginning stages of that IPO launch. I don't have the balls. I don't have the balls to IPO. I just don't. Never will. I don't think I ever will.
I'm
ASTS makes sense.
Yep.
Rocket Labs.
Ooh.
Oh, that's spicy. That's clean.
That's
that
from
is
yesterday,
too late.
too.
That is too late, but clean.
189 and popped. Yeah, obviously a lot of names popped yesterday with the Iran stuff, but
yeah. Yesterday was nutty.
I'm mad too because I had an actual long 0 DTE call, and then I was long.
To be fair, nobody really fully anticipated such a dramatic Trump tweet yeet. He mentioned, a pause to bombing for those who are unaware. And yesterday, the NASDAQ ripped 500 points on that tweet within a minute, and 250 of that points happened in like 3 seconds. It was bonkers. I happened to see the news candle right when it happened, the very second that Trump posted that on Truth Social.
I saw that on the work server yesterday. You're like, what happened? Everyone was like, huh?
Yeah, that's...
news candle to Valhalla yesterday.
Yeah, and I stopped out of those calls too.
Yeah, that always. I'll just real quick since we're talking about it. Here's what the chart on the NASDAQ looks like in the pre-market session today. Small range, pretty uniform. If I go back in time here, I'll just go back a little bit. This is the news candle. Just straight up, man. It was like halfway through this 1 minute candle that had happened. So these two candles, that pump was only about 5 seconds, that initial pump, because it happened right as this 1 minute candle closed. And just see you later, bye. It was nutso. Just 500 points in seconds. And they haven't dipped down anywhere near that breakout range. So I'm curious to see what today does, especially with the SpaceX launch. But yeah, that was nuts. I didn't catch a single penny of it. I was done trading for the day before that happened, but I still had it open, and I was like, God damn! I hope someone caught that.
Yeah, I got killed by Wix yesterday again. For some reason, it always happens when I'm not on the show. So I'm like, I'm just gonna trade the prop on the show for now.
Austria says Witcher Man. I'm not familiar with this sticker. Shut up. Get out of here.
Yeah, the ASTSs were definitely interesting. They're obviously already up. Planet Labs here. This was
what's Planet? I've heard that.
Came in
Planet
there. This is
satellite imagery and Earth data analytics. All right, my bad. My bad, Planet Labs. I see you.
And then we also had lunar puts. Yeah, the top two were calls, but then you got some puts coming in here too, so that's kind of interesting there. I mean, not huge size though, so
Yeah, it's still a nice new position, but it's not anything crazy. I imagine ASTS and RKLB, SPCE are probably the biggest related names.
Yeah.
Well, at least the most well known. ASTS especially.
Yep. I do, since we were kind of talking about the net, not to go off subject here, as you can tell, we usually don't stay on subject. I do want to point out. I do want to point out something before we start, because I know we in the Periscope channel yesterday, in the Unusual Whales Discord, we were kind of talking about the heat maps and stuff here. So what I like to do before open too. I usually look at SPY here, but I'm looking at today's setup. Today's setup is pretty interesting. That daily gamma, look at that big increase there from yesterday there. I mean, big change in that daily gamma there. And I was looking at that 0DT. So this is kind of what I was talking about to everybody in the chat there yesterday. That 0DT, look at where all that positive gamma is. It's above us right now. So I'm just kind of, keeping an eye on what happens here today. I mean, it's looking like a bullish setup here. Your absolute gamma's at 750. I mean, that's your highest strike with a lot of, interest on it there, followed by the 755 and 53. So I'm watching that there. I mean, it's looking bullish there. So I'm just kind of keeping an eye on that there. And this will change throughout the day. Well, the SPX will change throughout the day there. On an individual ticker, it's just once a day with the open interest change there. But yeah, I'm watching today. That's very interesting. And I know I popped in the chat to you guys there yesterday that I was testing that on Apple, Nvidia, and Tesla. I just wanted to see
Yeah,
how
I'm
it did over
very
the week.
curious to see
But
how it does.
yeah, I mean, they all kind of pumped on the news. So I'm like, okay, I don't know
That,
if that
yeah,
back
maybe not
test
a
is
good
kind of,
sample. Maybe not
yeah,
a
not
good
a good
sample.
sample there. But I can
Did
show
you
you
take
what
your
I was
profits on that pump though?
I just set a
Okay,
take profit there.
good.
So yeah, I just did a very very quick 15% take profit because I'm just back testing that right now. So I just wanted to kind of see how that worked there. But like Tesla, I want to see how much it changed there. Okay, so it was the I got it saved here. Let's see. So yeah, it was the 7 day. 7 days is what I was looking at there. Obviously 6 day there, but at the time when I can show it because I kind of got them posted here in our little chat thingy here. But yeah, Tesla. That's not Tesla. This one. Dude, I was stupid and I didn't because I was just doing it for me and then I was like, okay, well we're talking about it, so why not talk about it? Um, yeah. So like here was the Tesla one. These were I pulled this at like 10:30 Central Standard Time here. We were trading at 385. I noticed on that 7 day, look at where all that positive
Yeah,
gamma is
really
there.
concentrated.
And look where we are now. We're getting closer, getting closer. Obviously,
I
we had
will
the
say,
news pump, so I'm
yeah,
like,
news
it's
pump
not a super.
notwithstanding, I have noticed that the inflection prices that they tend to test in those pumps are still valid with those data points.
Yep.
And with price action too. I mean, all of these levels that I have on the Nasdaq on that pump, they all tested still. Like this one had an initial rejection when they wicked way above the purple line of glory at 922, 923-ish on the Nasdaq. Then they ripped up to this 181 I've had for a hot minute and flagged on it. Pretty much up until the close before a next breakout. So despite the news candle, we're still obeying price action. It's just that the ranges between these levels aren't 50 to 100 points. They're like 1,000 points. So I mean, it's still valid. It just, in my opinion, news candles don't cause price action. They accelerate it. And so we still obeyed patterns to the upside for bullishness on a recovery. It just happened way the fuck faster than anticipated. And that, I think, is true just here in Tesla too. You ripped right up into those gamma zones that you've been watching and kind of pinned in there. But I think it's still valid. We can still keep an eye on that.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I was looking at Apple too, so let me pull up Apple's here. So again, that 6 day out there, so we're trading at 295 here, and when I let's pop this here. I think this was my Apple 300. This guy right here. Yeah, so again at the time there we were trading at 291.91, and then we're up about $4 from there. Obviously, I was kind of hoping I wouldn't get a news candle just so I could get some of that back testing data there, but it's what it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, just kind of paying attention to that absolute gamma, but knowing that's above us there and doing that. I wonder actually that gives me an idea. You think Mr. Whale can pull this info somehow to find
Check.
names.
I
where
know
that
we had some updates to
spot-
Mr. Whale to be a little bit more ingrained in some of the Gamma stuff. I don't know if it nabs these quite yet, but let's try. I could
let's
just ask, but
see.
I'd rather just punt something at the wall and see if it sticks.
Yeah, let me try. I'm trying to think of how I want to ask it there. Can you find me individual names that the spot price is below the gamma decay over time with heavy positive gamma above us, whatever.
I believed in you. You figured it out.
Yeah.
I always knew you could do it, brother.
Just not the spelling part.
I didn't believe in you. Don't worry.
Holy shit, there's still 400 people concurrent on Twitter. I don't know if they're here for the lulz or if they're coming in hot from the interview with TemaETFs later. Probably that. I mean, SpaceX is all the rage. We got a market open and a nice rejection on the NASDAQ, almost 100 points down, over 100 points down from the open there. I'll keep an eye on that for now. Let's see what Mr. Whale pulls up, and then we can basically just do our usual punting trades back and forth while we take flow requests up until the interview. We'll keep it loosey-goosey like we do every Friday.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. I can help, but I can't accurately screen the whole market for the exact setup. Let's see, spot price below overhead positive gamma, ideally with heavy near-term positive gamma. I do have ticker level gamma tools, but I don't have market-wide spot. Screener.
All right, spot's not getting pulled yet, but it might be pulling these individuals now, so that's good. That's good. I was right. We have a little bit of spice in there. And Mr. Whale's constantly being updated, folks, so eventually it's going to pull literally everything we have on site. So don't you worry.
So, okay, yeah, it's kind of just telling me to scan certain names more so there.
Yeah, it's not giving exact levels yet. Oh, our cameras aren't even on it yet, Tucker. What'd you do?
Well, I didn't think of it. What are you talking about?
Well, we missed you because we didn't have anybody to blame stuff.
That's
yeah,
true,
it did
that's
suck.
true.
It did suck.
You're like, oh man, it can't be either of us.
We took to blaming Nate in chat.
Even though he wasn't around.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
we see your request,
that'll
don't worry, we'll get to it. Gotcha.
That'll be nice when that gets updated there. That'll be nice because if you can pull that data instead of individually going through each ticker, that will be wonderful. That will be wonderful. All right, I gotta refresh my stuff here.
I gotta close some tabs. Jesus.
Yeah, I'm up there with you already too.
I wonder if I have a graphics card update because I'm getting a little bit of choppiness from your camera, but I don't think it's your fault. I think it is mine. My fault.
It's not my fault for once. Wow.
I know, dude. Miracles happen, friends.
Did you just take accountability?
I know, it's fucking insane.
No.
I know, it's insane.
Yeah,
I have to. We have an interview with a much smarter, much more diversely experienced man from TemaETFs in about an hour. I gotta be good, you know?
What is this?
What are you struggling with? Oh, that's for the SPX candles.
I was like,
you got excited,
what am I seeing
there? Yeah, that's not.
Oh, I was like, what is this? I was like, because it usually always stays on the 1 minute. And I'm just like, what is that?
Yeah, that's not quite ready. But
okay,
it will be. It will be so soon.
Okay. You saw how excited I got there.
We have a very wide range of positive gamma. From 74.25 is the highest above us, all the way down to 73.50 and 45 is the highest below us. But those are kind of moving up a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'm probably going to fire some trades off on some back tests. But for now, I'm sitting on my hands and being good. I did take a payout from the prop firm account that we were trading on the show, so it's basically, you know, down to break even. But as you can see, we're just kind of chugging through my supports here. I'm not going to chase this. I'm not going to be a dick for a couple more ticks. I'm going to wait for my back tests of these prior shelves before I try to short this. Yeah, we're just chilling. We'll get some trades
especially when
off.
We've tested all the ranges like every day this week too.
All right, so Mr. Whale did pull up a Rocket Labs contract, but we do have from Elucidaru on YouTube a general request for Rocket Labs. I'm curious if we had anything else come in, or if we have anything spicy coming in with the IPO launch of SpaceX today.
getting
It's getting
hurt a little bit.
shellacked.
I just want
Woo!
before we kind of look at that. Are the other names? How are they doing? Planet
Are they all
Lab.
getting
Planet Labs.
smoked?
Those puts. They were puts on that. Okay, I gotta go back to Mr. Whale. We'll do Rocket Lab. I just want to see what names it said there.
I think it was the
No,
SpaceX
not
stock flow.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was. Yes, it was.
I can read.
All right, yes.
Swear.
I got a little giddy there. So okay, look at that. Is this ooh, space is down 22% today. Look at that.
Getting smoked.
Yeah, I mean the ASTS, they're all getting smoked right now. Oof. Rocket Lab is getting smoked. We'll look at that individually. Planet Lab is getting smoked, down 6.5%. Space down 22%. Okay, I just want to kind of see what they were at. They did have those puts come in there. That's interesting. All right, let's go look at Rocket Lab entirely here. So and kind of with the IPO stuff too. I'm taking the stuff with a grain of salt, especially.
And it's listing on the
kinda,
NASDAQ, correct? I'm pretty sure.
Yep, correct.
So I'm gonna keep an eye on. You guessed it, the NASDAQ.
Yeah,
nice
look
bounce off of that 310 hold. I wish I gotta grow balls and start longing my levels, man. One of these days I'll do it. But right now we've been doing so well on the show with my shorting and your longs. I'll wait. But look at that 29,310 back test. That was one of the levels we looked at in pre-market that it was coiling on after the breakout. And they just back tested it and ripped a good 110 points pretty much instantly. I'm gonna wait. Let's see where this goes.
Wait an update or two. Don't force it. Yeah, look at all that put premium
the
that actually came in yesterday
all
on
over
it.
the place on the market too. It's a crapshoot. I'm gonna sit on my hands for now. We'll be good. We're not gonna give back the wins we had on the last few episodes. We're gonna chill.
Dude, they smack those short-term calls there. I'm sure most of these most of those all kind of, nothing interesting there. I'm just kind of looking yesterday, 35-day. Oh, yeah, I mean, you're getting, I think that's a Rocket Lab one that got pulled for us.
I got tagged in the Unusual Whale server and I can't find it. Who said my name?
Oops.
Oh, Spoonerama, what's up, homie? What are you talking about? Oh no. So there's the whole thing with Sam Bankman-Fried, his request for a pardon, and he obviously didn't get it. But somebody, so for those who don't know, a couple years ago, literally the day, a few hours before SBF got arrested, we were the last ones to interview him, and I wasn't very nice during that interview. And then somebody in the Unusual Whales Discord is just, I heard Nicholas spoke to Trump himself and said, "Don't let them overturn it." He still feels slighted by the interview. It turned into a meme. People were like, "You got him arrested." I was like, "I didn't do shit. He got himself arrested." Fuck out of here. Plus, I'm sure that sting was planned long ahead of our interview. They were working on that. Dude, Rocket Lab's still getting smoked.
And if you got him arrested, where's your reward?
I know, right?
Come on. And no reward money. But
that's a nice
getting
rejection
smoked
too.
right now. Today they did hit 0 days, like kind of right at the open, but it's not really directional. I'm not seeing anything super directional here. I'll give her another refresh there. I mean, just a lot of put premium coming in there. This is, I mean, probably the best option there, but there's a lot of open interest already on that one. We can look at the gamma. I'm sure it's going to probably read as a bullish profile. But yeah, I mean, 120 is your absolute gamma there. 0 day. Well, there you got a little drop there. I mean, there was a lot of negative gamma on that 110x on that strike there. So, it kind of, what were we trading at here right at open? I mean, we were trading up at 114. So yeah, it might have kind of pointed a little sign there. 6 day out. Oh, 6 days, still 115 there. Yeah, I mean, I kind of figured this is going to read bullish mostly anyways, just with everything kind of going on there. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything super interesting yet, but I mean, yeah, this thing is just, I might take that back. The interesting thing is this thing is just absolutely just tanking right now.
Having a bad time.
Yeah,
SPCE looks pretty identical as well to that right now.
Yeah,
having a bad time.
Me. only down 25%. What do you mean? Only 25%.
Only. It
And
kind of
put
looks like
premiums aren't even
Nasdaq's setting
really.
up for a new breakout toward those highs. I did try taking a short on this little flag range they were ticking up. I went ahead and cut that. I'm going to wait to see what they do as they near highs here. We're about 70 points from highs. I'm not going to be a dick. You know what? I'm just going to wait.
Funny thing is on that space net premiums here, puts aren't even ask side yet. They're still bid side, so I'm curious to see what.
Austri, there are shitloads of tools and features, homie. There's like political trade tracking, insider trade tracking, analyst ratings, stock data dating back years and years. I mean, technically, Periscope's still options data, but it's not, it's not just like clean, hey, there's some calls and puts here. There's tons of stuff, man.
I got a request to look at NASA here too, since you're
Did you
kinda.
actually? Who requested it?
Yeah.
That's
in my
literally,
chat
that's the ETF we're interviewing today.
there. Yeah.
I was looking at all the 3 chats I pulled. Like, where? How did I
No.
miss that?
Somebody sent me it.
Okay.
Sent me it there.
And if I recall, and if you guys stick around for about an hour, I'll be interviewing the CIO of the ETF company, the thematic ETF company TemaETFs, and this is their ETF that we'll be discussing today because of their involvement in space innovation investment. And so we'll definitely be talking more about SpaceX later from a much closer perspective than either Anthony or I could offer. So stay tuned. 1 hour, homies. Less than an hour now. We'll be doing that.
Hey, time flies when you're having fun. So yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, a lot of put premium coming in there, call premium dipping, just kind of like all the other areas right now. I'm sure if we look at anything related to that SpaceX stuff right now, it's gonna probably be down right now. Yeah, a lot of put premium coming in there. I'm sure it's gonna be kind of the same read as everything else there. I mean, yeah, there's just not a lot. I mean, all that volume coming in there. There's already significant open interest on these here. Even that call, this would not surprise me to be a little profit taking here. Let's just kind of look there. Yeah, even that you can't. There's nothing really on that one specifically there.
Pretty
I mean, your
chopping
highest
around
open
with the
interest.
fills.
Yeah. It's there's a lot of hype going on, so you're not seeing a lot of clean flow overall there. I mean, like the SPCE one's kind of the only one that hit my radar over the last week that was absolutely, clean opening flow there. And yeah, I'm sure the gamma profiles on all this they're gonna all kind of, lean bullish right now. I'm sure. Again, absolute gamma's at 40, so it's above us there. Yeah, I mean 35 is your big strike here on next week's expirations. 717. Yeah, I mean they like the 34 there, but it's I'm just kind. I mean, look at that daily gamma. It's just increasing every day there. So I mean, it's a bullish read, but you got to kind of think too.
Looks like
What's
those
behind
old
that
AT&T
bullish?
commercials.
Yeah, I wish my phone signal looked like that. But
Singular, raising the bar.
I do find it interesting though that we are sitting right on that put wall right now on NASA here. So that could be an interesting spot here. Good, hopefully would be your support here more than likely. And your call wall's up there at 40, and I mean you got a lot of positive net gamma here
the
to
short that
kind
we
of
missed, Anthony.
pull us. Oh boy, do I even want to open it?
Literally where I stopped out, folks.
I gotta take a peek there. Oh man, they move
right
they
where I
move,
stopped out,
yeah.
friends. All right, well, still sitting on my hands and waiting, baby. Go.
We've had this every day where we kind of get a little pump it open and then just sell off. Obviously, yesterday was your outlier because of news, but
fat news pump.
Man,
I think they bounce here. Let's see if they give me a good entry. But anyway,
hey, I'm looking at 73.50 if we can get down there.
Oh, hey, that's the price I pointed out right out of the open. I'm just saying. Go ahead and hover that big positive gamma above 7,400 there. Oh, they got damn close, man. They got close to it. They're
Yeah.
playing out the full
They
range
did
yet
reject
again.
it that negative though at
Yeah.
15. I mean, right there, you're negative.
I'm keeping an eye on it. Maybe we'll get
Oof.
something on and get back to break even. I'm down about 150 from that stop out earlier, so nothing crazy, but I'm gonna be patient.
Yeah, I'm playing the full range. Well, I'm not playing the full range because I'm waiting until we get to the bottom of each or the top of each range, just with it knowing it's covered the entire range the last like 4 sessions.
Right.
I mean,
I would love them to get down to that 50 for real. I did short that. My stop's way tight. I'm up about $80. If this bounces too hard, I'm going to take this off. Not going to be a dick for a tick here. My target's new low of day. But again, if they get this candle back above 29,310 for more than a couple seconds, I'm just going to get the hell out of here and take like a $40 loss. Let's see what they do for me. It's very wide range, and I'm usually a very short range stop out. So widening my range like this puts me a little bit out of my comfort zone. But I got to get better with that anyway, because that's how you kind of have to play longs, and I got to get better at longs. So I'm just gonna leave it. Be all right.
Hey, well, you know what? If you're the short pro and I'm the long pro, then you
I'm
know
careful
what?
with that pro word
that's
there, man. All right, we're almost to my new low of day. There it is, baby. We are green. I'm out. I'm out of that. Oh, please flatten. Oh, no. There we go. Oh, dude, I was about to shit my pants if that came back on me. All right, that should have put us in profit for the day off of that $150 loss. It is. We're up about $85. Now we're back to waiting for re-entry, friends. I might actually size down to just 1 because of how wide these ranges are, and I'll add into my move as I get it instead of going all in, all out. Just be a little safer today because we got wide ranges. That IPO is going to cause McFlurries everywhere. So just be careful out there, folks. Don't be dicks. Oh, let me get your screen off. You're fucking logging into shit, dude. Jesus.
Oops.
What are you doing?
I thought you were still trading, man.
I am. Well, I'm out. But here, I'll just go.
Connecting.
Let me know when you're good to go. Well, they can look at our beautiful faces for a few minutes here. Those of you just joining, stick around for about 45 more minutes. We'll be interviewing the CIO of TemaETFs, specifically about their NASA ETF, which we were just looking at on Anthony's screen there, going over space innovation and investment. And don't worry, it's not just one of those I'm going to glaze this company thing. I am a fair interviewer. I was a little unfair to SBF, but we already talked about that.
Yeah.
He deserved it. He deserved it.
Okay. You're good. You're good. I had a different tab open with the trading view in it. God, I hate that so much. I'm like, why won't it let me log in?
Yeah, I feel you. I hate how TradingView will like sometimes auto save your changes when you don't want it to, but then won't save your changes when you want it to. I don't know what its problem is. I love TradingView, but boy does it glitch out sometimes.
Yeah, Wednesday was not fun with that.
Especially
for you.
When that short we just took didn't close immediately, I was like, please Trade Evade, don't do this to me right now. But we're good. And actually that was a really good exit too, because look at the bounce they did basically right below where I closed it. I closed that at about 242. And they bottomed out there at 231 with a nice bounce. If they can't get back above this shelf, though, they can't close a candle above 350s. Homies, I think we got a little bit more downside before some good old-fashioned Trump tweet yeets give us some crazy volatility. But the Nasdaq's down about 0.5% now. So I'm just keeping my eye out, see if we can get a new entry. Otherwise, you know, like I said, we did take a payout off of the prop account we were trading. We don't need to be a dick. We had a good week. If I end the day at just this $85, that's still a dub. $20 would be a dub, man. Wins are wins. We do not profit shame on this show.
We do have data in 10 minutes, too. We have consumer sentiment.
More totally volatility, baby. Give it to me.
Totally forgot about that.
Next week's going to be a ride, man, because we have a short week coupled with FOMC, and it is Warsh's first one, I believe. We might get some fireworks next week. Instead of your usual low volume on a short week, I think we're going to have some volatility going into FOMC myself, but we'll see. I'll be doing my usual FOMC panel on Unusual Whales' Twitter on the Spaces. I'll also push that feed to YouTube like I always do. So I can't trade FOMC. I'll be busy. But, you know, If something happens, I'll bring it up. I
Hey,
just won't
give
be
me your
watching like
login.
we
I'll
do.
trade it for you.
Yeah, no.
Just gonna be resetting your account real quick.
Yeah, I would lose the funded account we've been trading. I'm good.
I'd end up getting wicked and it'd be the wrong direction.
I'm probably going to
Wouldn't
put that
surprise me.
payout back into the personal account that Weeble nuked for us a couple months ago and start it from there. So we'll go back and forth between the two. I just want to be able to let stuff ride on the show when we get those really heavy short days.
Yeah.
You know I love my shorts, man. I'll just have to trade way smaller size. It's going to be a much smaller account than we're currently trading, and that's okay. Time is at 8:50 Central already. 40 minutes till the interview where we can learn a lot more about how the space innovation is happening and how people are investing. Straight from the horse's mouth, the CIO of TemaETFs.
I am going to
He's a good guy.
Drop down to one contract to just
I sized down to one as well. The ranges are, like I said, I'm a very, very tight stop. I'll take paper cuts over and over and over while I go for my move. Today's not the day to do that. The ranges are too wide. These 1 minute candles are like fucking 90 points almost. I'm not sitting in a 90 point drawdown on more than one contract. On one contract that still sucks.
That was like me yesterday. Like I don't know. I mean, I'm like, why did I I gotta go back a couple. I was like, why is that not there? Like, I'm like, I told myself, I mean, before the big pump too, I'm like, why am I trying to trade this? Like, why am I trying to trade this? Like, I broke one of my rules, and again, that's one thing that you talk about too, is
get yourself chopped up,
psychology behind chopped up. Yeah, and it sucks too because I had the correct direction. Like, I had a long, like right in here, and then hit down wicked, and then we popped, and I had SPX 0 days there too, and I'm like, dude,
0 days, man.
It's
after that noon hour Eastern, I usually don't touch 0 days. They start getting messy, man.
Yeah.
I took that short. We're up decent. I'm going to flatten it already. I might not even show this on the screen. Actually, you know what? I'll pull it up.
There you go.
I'll just show why I shorted it. If they bounce up and stop me out, it's okay. We're still in profit. They couldn't get back above this shelf, so I'm just trailing that to these 1 minute wicks here. I would love a new low of day again, but like I said, we're not going to be a dick. I'm going to take my 20 points, and we're going to fuck off on that one. That's all there is to it on that. They're really, really tight, man. This is teetering on that 310 level I talked about at the open that they knifed down to and then held as support, and they've bounced it on backtest each time. Right now, it kind of looks like they might finally lose it, but this can just as easily rocket right back up with this type of price action. So a couple points here and there on small size is plenty. We don't need to put risk on today.
Big range.
And in a couple of hours, I believe that IPO is going to hit, and this is going to get messy.
I think they said it
like 11?
9 Eastern.
9 Eastern? It can't be.
SP. Or 8:50, no, 9:50 Eastern.
So now.
I think that's what that's right.
I don't think it did.
What is it? SPCX. Nope, not trading yet. Okay.
Yeah, no, definitely not trading. I don't think it's now.
I saw it on the
Usually they tend to be toward the end of the morning session.
Yeah, the morning, yeah.
But I think this gets messy, so we're going to take these tiny scalps while we can, because I'm not going to be messing when that launches. And I might also still already be in the interview with Yuri from TemaETF, so we might, you know, if I'm done today at a whopping $107, that's a good day when we have this kind of volatility. Okay. We don't got to be dickheads. We don't got to be dicks.
And yeah, kind of about yesterday, too. I mean, why am I trading in this? Like, that is just so stupid. It's just breaking your... that's where the FOMO comes in, and it's just, you gotta... Should have locked my account like you did on Wednesday and just... There's not a setup.
I did regret it.
Anything.
As soon as I did it.
I
just really needed to demonstrate. I really needed to demonstrate, because we've been doing really well on the show, and I really want to emphasize that the last, 5 episodes have been nothing but winning scalps and green days, and I really wanted to demonstrate that that's not normal.
I'm taking a short here too. Oh no, I'm gonna miss it.
That is a win streak, and win streaks end. And so we were green on one account on Wednesday and red on the other. So I went ahead and just locked the account up. We took a loss on one and a win on the other. You gotta be okay with losing. It's gonna happen. You gotta get used to it and be okay with it.
All right, we're getting a little move there. Getting a little move.
Giving you a little mess. Let's see what they give you. This is kind of a bounce spot at the bottom of that wick on the 1 minute. I would
Yeah, I
almost
might
be
get
targeting your low, though. I'd keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I like that change in. I mean, they're moving that positioning down significantly, and it's all dropping off at the top there. So I mean,
Just
I
keep in mind
like
how
the
wide these
downside.
ranges are, so you might have to be
Yeah,
okay with some risk, even if it loses.
I might take a stop. I'm gonna probably take a little
Above that
stop
1
here
minute
if we-
there.
Yeah, no.
That's about how I do
I don't want to
NASDAQ
get
as
wicked.
well. I keep it
I'm gonna move it
above
actually at the
those.
EMA. I'm gonna move it above the EMA there.
Look
I'll
at this
take the
guy
EMA.
widening risk. In a good way, mind you.
Just
Let's see what they do
nibbling there.
here.
All right, I'm
That
gonna
little-
get ready. I'm just
That
gonna
little
get
Darth Maul lightsaber candle. That's what I call him. This is when I tend to start trailing to the 1 minute, and if they wick me out, I just get back in. But like I said, I take super
Let's
tight
see.
stop outs. I'll take like 20 trades on a day sometimes to basically get 1 trade's worth of trade. But it works out. It offsets. It offsets. We're vibing.
We're just gonna chop here the whole day, aren't we? It's just
The whole
up
day, I
$2.
fucking doubt it.
Hey, I'm in the trade.
The whole day.
I'm in the trade, so you know, you never know. We're just gonna dill right here.
They're giving you the spice, man. While this plays out, folks in chat, we've got about 35 minutes before the NASA TemaETF's interview. Let's see if they bully Anthony here. Once this trade closes, I think we can jump into about half an hour or so of just straight up flow requests. And don't worry, Anthony, we will get more volatility later today. If this trade stops out, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine.
I am happy I am only doing 1 contract.
Yeah.
Though,
Lowering risk on wide range days like today is the move, in my opinion. I would rather miss an entire trade than get trapped in a bad one. Let's see if they tag him. Ooh. Tickling it. Oh. Let's go. Give us that rejection, or just take him out, and we'll move on.
Okay.
There we go. All right.
Now let's see what it does. Now watch. It's gonna just
the way it just sat. It just sat a quarter tick below. Was really.
I got in a little early on that there though. I was kind of that 85 I wanted there. So I mean about another $4. I might test it if we get another $4 there.
Yeah, let's see what they do with it. In the meantime, folks, go ahead and start dropping some flow requests in chat. Tucker will pass those on to us, and we'll get those pulled up. We'll do that for a little bit longer here. Otherwise, stick around. We will be having TemaETF's Yuri Kojimirian, the CIO, on at 10:30 Eastern to cover space innovation and investment via their ticker NASA. Man, what a banger ticker to get.
I know.
Like that's like when a game comes out and you somehow get like your normal first name before anyone else. It's like impossible. Yeah, we'll see. Well, how'd they get that ticker, man? So perfect.
Yeah. And what's Tide doing? Market Tide's trying to pick up a little bit there, so I'm, yeah, I don't. We'll see. We get another update here in a couple minutes. I'll wait for that update.
We have a blanket request for Bull, which is ironic because I just talked a bunch of shit about Bull like half an hour ago.
Bro, you're always talking Bull. Everything coming out of your mouth always Bull.
He tried.
Jeez.
He tried.
Jeez.
He tried. They're not all gonna be hits. You know what I'm saying?
Tucker gets a couple days off and comes back
Oh, come on. You can't just say I'm speaking Bull and not have me come in with a joke. That's like the easiest thing ever.
Yeah.
I want
show up for a full week, then you can talk.
On a personal level, I want somebody to short this fucker into the ground. I'm gonna be honest. I have a vendetta against Weeble that will not die anytime soon. I'm pretty.
Unless they give you an appall.
For those who are wondering where the hell our account went that we were trading for the show, Weeble made it disappear because I couldn't close a position, and their trade desk basically laughed and told me to get bent. But I'm restarting that account next week, so it's okay. But damn it, I was not a happy camper. And we're starting it with the exact same amount we
Yeah.
had. We took it from 1K to 7K. Got absolutely shellacked by Weeble's Futures. Couldn't close the position. That nuked it by the time I finally got a hold of them to do something about it. So we're going to start with 1,000 again. I'm just going to use the payout from this prop account we were trading and start a new show account and see what we can do with it. All right, let's look at Bull quick. Then we have a direct request on a Nokia contract.
I'll get that pulled up right now.
Hell yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking. Obviously today you're getting a lot of high volume on some 0 days, but there's just a lot of open interest on here. I'm gonna probably assume it's nothing super directional there. Yeah, not super directional. You do have a lot of, again, contracts that get kind of punted around on this one too. I mean, you see 11,000. Not seeing all that full open interest changes there. So there's just a lot of kind of contracts changing hands there overall. Let me just kind of shorten this a little bit there. Yeah, you see all the kind of volume there. Hard to know who's who on something like this one. It does look like you are getting a lot of nice net call premium today, though. We, anything interested in the highest OI names? Let's just kind of look. Yeah, Messi. Probably Messi. Let's see, 33. Oh yeah, still Messi. Yeah, there's just a lot of open interest on these here. Yeah, nothing really contract wise sticking out to me. Yeah, I don't really see a lot of bull contracts hit my feed. I did when it was a little newer, but not recently. It's kind of like Snap where you don't see a lot of contracts hit your feed and filters, but when they do, they're interesting. We can look at the gamma profile on it though. That 0 day, yeah, we're kind of, yeah, and you know, it's a smaller, priced stock there too. So that's kind of, with the heat zones here, it's more condensed, I'd say there. I mean, your absolute gamma's at 7 there, so I mean, it's above us there. I mean, you look for a 20-cent move there, you're gonna be about a 8% day on the stock. Call walls up at 7, put walls down at 650. So it looks like actually 650. We got really close to that, actually 664, and then we kind of bounced there. So we got a little bounce near that put wall there. Just kind of looking in here. Yeah, just not too much. I mean, that 7 strike just looks to kind of be the leader across the board on it there. Let's see, that 35 day out 7.5 call and 10 strike there. Just kind of looking in here. Yeah.
Show you a 10 strike, bro.
Yeah, come
on.
Look,
yeah, it looks like that 7 strike. I mean, it's a bullish looking gamma kind of heat zone there. I almost like that 35 day a little bit more, and kind of like that 7 there. Obviously, it's not a huge dollar figure compared to the 6 day, but having time on something that's this kind of small isn't always bad. But yeah, flow wise, not really seeing much on there. And yeah, just kind of looking here, you can see we're like right in the middle of that put wall and call wall there. Again, it's a 50-cent difference there on one of those smaller names. But yeah, a lot of that net gamma does kind of favor those higher strikes there. Same with your expirations. All that net gamma is on your expiration, on the calls expirations there. So yeah, interesting name. Just not much for flow right now. I am glad I stopped out. Oof, we are pumping.
Yeah. See, hey, losses are wins if you keep them small, period. I will die on that hill. That hill will be my deathbed. Big loss is the only loss that's dog shit. Getting break even, that's a win. Small win, obviously that's a win. Big win, let's fucking go. Small loss, still a win. You manage your risk. But when you start hitting those big losses, that's where your risk management's really working against you, and you got to tighten up. It's going to happen anyway. Anthony and I have both been trading for probably the better part of a decade at this point. It makes me feel old as shit. And it still happens. I get... Dude, if I hadn't stopped trading because I reached that payout threshold for that prop account we're trading... if I hadn't reached that, I would have kept trading, and we were in a short setup when that news candle hit. I would have gotten blown open. That would have been the ultimate slippage. My fill at my stop price probably would have filled 100 points higher because of how fast that went. We would have gotten nuked.
Oof, that would have been bad. Yeah, I mean, let's see. How about these Adobe puts? I wonder if these are short here.
Those of you
Awesome.
just
We
coming
had
in, hang
earnings.
around. We're about 25 minutes away from the TemaETF's interview where we'll be discussing their ETF, NASA, the SpaceX IPO, and all that goes with it. Should be a pretty good one.
These look like some potential short puts on Adobe here. We just had earnings yesterday. 840, 840, same timing there. IV's dropping. These look like short puts here. How far are these out of the money? 16%, 35 days. Yeah, these look like some short puts. I'm gonna save these. These look pretty interesting
Adobe.
here.
I feel like we haven't looked at Adobe in a minute.
Yeah, and
Did
we
they take a
just had
nap or
earnings
something? Where the hell's Adobe
yesterday.
been?
Earnings yesterday, and I always find it funny too on earnings. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into it, but they had one of their best quarters, and then the stock tanks. It's just that's why earnings are just a gamble. Like, you can have the best quarter ever, and just the stock tanks. All right, let me snag a screenshot of this guy. Oh man, I'm excited for this week, and it's supposed to be nice, man.
I shorted this. I'm about to take it off
done.
already. We're up 20 points. I'm not going to be a dick here. And they bounced it right back. So let's see if they stop me out. That was fast. Let's see. I really want them to test 415 from above. And that's my target here. If they stop me out, that's okay. I'll lose about 40 of our 120 that we're up. And that'll probably be the last trade of the day for me. We got that interview coming up very shortly here. Let's see if they give me my target or stop me out like the little loser that I am. Let's see. They might get me here. This might form those little V shapes, a little bit of a W up to the upside. That's why I'm keeping my stop right in the middle of this shelf. I don't want them to take a... Usually, pattern-wise, I'll just let it happen a little bit here. Pattern-wise, my stop would be way up here. You know what? I'll just let them hit this. They can hit that. I got to go with the pattern, not the dollar amount. If they get me on this pattern, that's all right. We're still green on the day, and we're vibing. But this is starting to look a little more bullish than I like. I'll leave my stop right there. If they take it, they can have it. All right, they got me. That's okay. So we're ending the scalping today. Green on the NASDAQ account, slightly red on the ES account. We're vibing. We had a good week. Who cares, man? I know you killed it on those calls that you opened yesterday based on the gamma profiles, so we are fine.
Yeah, I mean, I was still red on the overall port yesterday because of my SPX 0 day, but hey, that's okay. It happens. It was a nice recovery, I'll tell you that.
Real quick, we're going to get to some more flow reviews for about 10 more minutes before the interview with TemaETFs to talk about space innovation and investment. I'm going to hit them with one of my little breaks here, so I am rearing and ready to go for the interview and don't have to pause in the middle of it. And then I'm going to go ahead and flip it over to your screen, Anthony, to take these requests while I go lose some weight.
Perfect. Tucker dropped this from Oshri, sorry. From YouTube here. So let's take a peek at these. It is the Nokia 72417 call at the bid. These are 14% out of the money. Let's take a peek in here. Just kind of see how that tape looks here. Not the cleanest tape on this one here. You got your spot price. It's rising as it comes in. Your IV's kind of rising as well here. And then it kind of drops and that spot drops a little bit. Then I'd be a little more conflicted on this one overall, just kind of with the tape there not being the cleanest there. And you see that stock price going up here and that IV dropping. I typically don't like seeing that. We can take a peek and see if there's anything else on here though. Ooh, Nokia's up 6% there. I almost said 14%. 6% on the day here. Just looking at the 14-day there. There hasn't been a lot of premium recently there, especially on the ask side. You had those calls on 6.8, which kind of dumped intraday there. Yeah, I'm not seeing too much kind of just premium wise here. A lot of 0 days coming in right now. Let's take a peek here. Yeah, a lot of open interest on that one. There's a lot of 0 days coming in here, just not really anything that's potentially opening even these. I mean, there's a ton of volume on this one here, but hard to know if it's the same person just with all that going on there. Call premiums are ticking up, put premiums are ticking up as well. Let's see, we can look at that heat zones for you. 0 day. Yeah, I mean, 14.5 is that strike there. What did we open at here? 14.5. So yeah, we were a little bit below that 14 there. So 14.38, and you can see how we kind of get a little closer to that 14.5. We got a big pop there at open, and then just kind of see that rejection there in that 14.5 area there. We're bouncing back up now. Yeah, there's not much positive gamma on the 0 days above us from this level, so it wouldn't surprise me to maybe see us come back and test that 14.5. I want to look at that 6 day because that has your biggest dollar figure there. Yeah, you're at that 15 here on your 6 day out too, so it wouldn't surprise me to kind of see us chop around that 14.5, 15 area just kind of based off that data there. 35 day out there. Yeah, other than that, yeah, not too much. I'd say this might kind of be an interesting spot here, especially seeing that put premium come up here. Call premiums are still climbing though, but yeah, I'm not, especially on the 0 day. There's not much positive gamma above us here, and if we look here as well too, that call wall's at 15. It's gonna act as a little resistance there. That looks like that's the absolute gamma as well. Let's go back here. 15 is your absolute gamma, so that's gonna act as your strongest magnet and pin area there too. So I'm thinking we get to 15, but
that chart
we
just
might
makes
kind
me
of.
so sad.
Yeah.
Go ahead and hover. Go ahead and hover
You want,
that little
you want
pullback.
to go,
That pullback in November. A little farther back. A little farther back. Right there. That's where we first started talking about Nokia on the show. Did you take a position, Anthony? Because I didn't.
I did not. I did not. I did not. I mean, it seemed so memey at the time. It seemed so memey.
It really did, dude. I didn't trust it. And then that news dropped, and boom, nothing but up since. That's crazy shit.
Yeah.
They're good old fashioned. Let's drop the abbreviation AI and see what happens. Well, that's what happened. Those of you just getting here, holy shit, we still have 450 concurrents on Twitter. Those just coming in, man. About 15 minutes away from the interview with TemaETFs to discuss space innovation and investing. So thanks for hanging around for that. We'll take maybe 2 more flow requests before I start getting that set up and get their CIO, Yuri Kojamirian, in the green room set up and ready to go. Thanks for sticking around, folks. I love to see that.
Yeah.
I'm glad we can at least be somewhat interesting while we wait for the real interesting thing.
Especially on a Friday.
Especially on a Friday, dude. Oh, we got one from Full Metal. Oh, you already got it up.
Full Metal
All right.
Yep.
I pay attention. I know what's going on my own show.
So it is the 717 Geo 30 calls here. These look like they hit the tape there on 610. Most of that carried over here. They already kind of made a decent move up there. They're up about 40%, 20. Kind of pulled back a little there. Up about maybe 22% or so there. Let's go back and kind of look at that flow. I feel like we looked at this name on here. The 10th. What was that? Yeah, that was Wednesday. So, I mean, I feel like we looked at this on Wednesday. Let's just kind of take a peek in here. I mean, all the fills are at the ask, and you get an ascending fill here, too. And that IV kind of dropped a little bit there. Yeah, this is, again, we should, sorry, I was trying to read what Nick was typing in our chat there at the same time. Yeah, I think this might have been a little conflicting in real time there. I mean, your spot's starting out at the ask, obviously, here, and you're getting that ascending fill, but your IV decreases here, and that price is going up. So I think in real time, if I would have saw that, I would have, a little hesitation on that there. Obviously, they're up right now, 35 days out, 5% out of the money. They did get a little move there. I want to see how that second candle looks there too. So another repeated hits. Yeah, 51.06. Yeah. I mean, let me pull up that first candle too, 51. Yeah, I mean that IV's technically kind of decreasing that entire time. Then you started out at 51.72, dropped down to 51.49, then you're at 51.06. And that spot price is filling at the ask though. So I mean, just kind of one of those real time ones. Obviously, you can always go back and look at anything in hindsight and say, oh hey, look, the flow looked good. But I mean, I would have been a little conflicted. I probably would have leaned buy to open just the way that it's hitting the tape at the kind of the double hits like that. But yeah, I mean that IV drop, and again, it's not a perfect science. I wish it was. I wish every time everything lined up, it would work every time because we'd all be millionaires and just kind of go by the same rules. But yeah, I mean, I'd probably would have leaned buy to open. I still probably would lean buy to open on them. How's that heat map look on this here quick? 6 day out. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're hitting that 30. That 30 is your highest positive gamma strike there. So I like seeing that 35 days out. Yeah, 30 again. Yeah, absolute gamma's 30. Yeah, I'd lean those or buy to open, just kind of combining that with your heat zones here. Call walls up at 30, put walls at 25. Yeah, a little far down for support there. I probably wouldn't wait till support there to get in, especially if you're trying to kind of follow that little shorter dated flow. But yeah, I'd probably lean buy to open on those. I like that spot price increasing for sure. That IV just at the time, a little questionable overall. But yeah, good piece of flow. Thank you, Full Metal Max, for that.
Homie pulls out some good stuff sometimes, man. And as always, Full Metal, thanks for always being in our YouTube chat. Our YouTube's kind of decimated lately, so I'm glad to see you guys still hanging out in there, even though everyone else is over on Twitter. I love that. So appreciate you, homie.
Just looking here. Yeah, we are, and it's... I want to see where we are on that SPY heat map right now, because we're a little below where we had that heat zone there, but we're trending up here. We are trending up. That 0 day, yeah. I mean, you got a little ways to go to get up to that 750. It doesn't seem like we have a $10 move in us right now, though. But somebody's gonna clip this, and we're gonna come back, and we're gonna finish the day at 750. Just I'd laugh. I would laugh, but that would not be a bad thing. Would not be a bad thing. Yeah, we are kind of moving up here. We are moving up.
Yeah, I will say I'm very glad I stopped out of that short, because there is no longer a short in sight at this time. Let's see how they react to this heavier positive gamma level here at 7.425, it looks like. But we'll see. I think I'm done scalping for today. We've got 13 minutes until Yuri hops on to discuss space innovation and investment. We got time for, let's say, one more flow review, depending on how long it takes. Maybe two, but I wanna take off about 5 minutes before he comes on, just to make sure everything's set up and safe. So maybe one more flow review.
They are just slamming calls here. I may have took a little 1 or a 0 day SPX lotto on my.
You degenerate.
Just knowing that the positive gamma's above us right now, and on SPY there, that just might be me. It's just a little lotto. Don't trail me. Do not trail me.
Don't trail us ever. Actually.
Don't trail. Nothing's financial advice.
Again, the win streak we've been on the show is going to end eventually. I promise.
Yes.
I promise.
Yes.
I just want to be very clear that it has been a win streak, not demonstrative of what trading is like. We have been lucky.
Well, if you're
no strategy works 100% of the time, man.
Patient and waiting for your setups. That's what it takes. That's what it takes.
12 minutes till the interview, homies. You guys got seconds to make another request here. What do you want to see before we move on?
I'm looking through my feed. I'm not seeing too much there, unless you want to look at these Dell 420s that are $30 a contract.
Oh my god.
Tesla, just long dated stuff. Yeah, there's a little Rocket Lab flow here. I know there was that request earlier. Hey, Rocket Lab's still kind of taking a little pooper there. Just looking here. Yeah, I mean, I'd read these as
Oh, we got a nice
again,
request here. We did dive Rocket Lab deep, so I hate to interrupt you, but we've got AMKR, $80 call for July 17th. I can't say I've ever seen this ticker. I don't know this ticker at all.
I don't think I have either. I don't think I have 817 AMKR. What is AMKR?
That's smelling like an opener, though. Amcor Technology. They're semis. Paint me shocked.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Another semiconductor name. All right, let's pop this.
Make this.
Quick,
we got about 5 minutes to run through this one.
Getting a little short on time here. All right, let's just take a peek here. So oh, look at that IV spike when that flow comes in. Spot is filling at the ask. These look very interesting here. Yeah. Oh, that IV is rising. Spot price is still up. Yeah, I like these. These are interesting if you don't mind paying $8 a contract.
I do.
Yeah, I'm not big on.
Man, even when I was in my full-time portfolio, $800 a contract.
Yeah, no, it's very rare if I do anything.
The only times I've ever bought a contract that expensive, again, even when I was full-time, this was my entire livelihood. The only time I've bought a contract that expensive is leaps on something that I already have shares.
Yeah.
I'm a cheapskate. I usually won't go over $200 a contract.
Yeah, I mean, you can. I'd rather have more contracts than just one contract, because then you can size out if you're getting. Yep, exactly.
If it goes against you, but you don't want to be out of the position, you can size down a little bit and then add back if you want. That's why I trade the MNQ and not the NASDAQ itself. I trade the micros for that very reason. I like being able to get in, get out, trim around a position. You can't do that with one contract.
No,
that is a clean opener. And they've had several days in the past week or so here of really inflated call premiums.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. I do want to look at that heat map here quick, 6 day. Oh, so yeah, you're kind of sitting on that. So absolute gamma is 70, so it is a little below us. Let's see, 35 day out. I like the 85 there for the 35 day out. 70 day. What were these? The 717. So yeah, that 85 on that 717, very interesting there, and that is your highest priced expiration as well there too. Yeah, everything else is kind of light there. Yeah, I like that flow. I like that flow a lot.
That's worth saving and following up on Monday morning, yes, I think. We will not have a show on Friday, folks. No, wait, that's next week. I lied. We will have... Today is... Dude,
today's
stupid. I am just not in it, man. Today is Friday. You know what? Moving on. Let's finish AMKR.
Yeah, don't let Nick plan a wedding for you.
Yeah, I'm not a calendar keeper. I will be fully transparent about that, man. Unreal.
Yeah. I'm liking these. They're interesting. They're interesting for sure. Oh, actually, I pulled a U there. I said that IV increase. It actually decreased a little bit there, as that price went up. Geez, I pulled a U and I read it wrong a little bit there. Oh man.
Proud of you.
Dude, my eyes are just so dry right now too from the weather. I mean, it's
which is funny because we've had like several days in a row of like 95% humidity. So there's no reason for my eyes to be this damn dry. My skin's all sticky. My contacts keep glazing over. It's not it, man. It's not it.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Those of you still hanging out, actually, go ahead. Let's wrap up.
I was gonna say I'd still lean buy to open on these though, just kind of based on that
no
heat
doubt
map. So they're already up there too a little bit.
Yeah,
818 up to 926. So
dude, they ripped. So we started talking about it.
Yeah, I would. I mean, you're pretty ballsy to short something 1% out of the money. So I would lean buy to open
to short
on those
anything
too.
with semiconductor in its business profile right now.
Yes. Perfect. All right, cool. That is the
Dope.
breakdown there.
All right, folks, we got 5 minutes until the interview. So what I am going to do next is we're going to go ahead and get things set up in the background here. We're going to get Yuri Kojamirian, the CIO of TemaETFs, chilling in the green room on our nice little Zoom call. So I'm going to go ahead and get this set up. Stick around. About 5 minutes is when we'll get this thing rolling. We'll be talking about space innovation and investment via their ticker ETF. Oh, dude, I cannot talk today. It is unreal. This is going to be a weird-ass interview, y'all. This is going to be a weird one. I can't talk. Their ETF ticker is NASA. This entire episode is sponsored by TemaETFs. I'll go through that whole shtick once we start up, but hang tight, folks. Give me about 5 minutes to set up here, and we'll be right back to discuss the SpaceX IPO and everything that revolves around it with TemaETFs. Hang tight. Welcome back, everybody. I promised it, and we've got it. I am here with the CIO of TemaETFs, Yuri Kojimirian, to discuss, like I mentioned, space innovation and investment. And as I'm sure you all know, we've got the big one today, SpaceX's IPO. There's a lot of hype around it. We'll be specifically discussing the Tema ETF ticker NASA for this. And again, like I mentioned at the top of the trading show, this entire episode is sponsored by Tema ETFs. Just a little bit of a disclaimer. I can't directly say to buy or invest any securities, so this can't be taken or construed as such. But I mean, we can dive right in. Today, we're going to dig into kind of what part of the space story that we're looking at is real right now, kind of where some of those bottlenecks in the industry might be, and really just what you guys at Tama ETFs are doing in what used to just be considered a really hypothetical what's going to happen with space, a lot of future hypotheticals around it. And this go round, I think it's a little bit more real than before for investors. So just to start us off, Yuri, for people who hear that phrase, space economy, and think government budgets, moonshots, sci-fi, like I mentioned earlier, what has really changed in the last few years, maybe even just the last year here, to make it seriously investable now?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it probably is the question, and certainly was one for us as investors, and before we even launched the NASA ETF. Our thinking was, okay, are we at this stage of kind of maturity in this area? As you know, um, the stock market is very good at sniffing out new technologies and new areas, but often comes in early, gets very excited before there's any real tangible progress. And the truth about space, and it's a risky, it's a difficult environment to operate in. It's difficult to launch rockets. It's difficult to develop stuff in this area. And so when we first started analyzing, we wanted to make sure we were at that in terms of the inflection, right? Where you have falling launch costs, right? So it's getting cheaper and cheaper all the time to get kilos into orbit, which is a massive and very, very important variable. That decline has been about 90% over the last 10, 15 years, mostly driven by SpaceX. And most kind of analysis, if you look at it, are talking about a 20 to 30% decline rate from here per year. Depends on how reusable the rockets are going to be when we get Starship and the other kind of types of rockets. But the reality is that if you have that kind of decline curve, good things start to happen, right? So I think that in terms of the technology inflection, we're there. I think the other bit that is really important is there's a business model inflection. Once you have these costs come down, you enter in human technology terms into kind of this mass production stage, right? Where you're making more of the stuff than you ever did before, and therefore the cost of each thing is going down, and you're learning very, very quickly. And that again is thanks to SpaceX. We have 10,000 Starlink satellites orbiting in low Earth orbit right now. That's way more than we ever used to launch in terms of satellites. And the learning and the improvement that you get from that unlocks a lot of technology. So to me, those transformations have happened and are continuing to happen and are also going into other companies as a sort of a business model that works. You got to try things, you got to be at scale, you got to produce, and you've got to be vertically integrated, which is a really important thing that SpaceX has also showed. So that means other businesses have learned, and the ones that haven't have kind of failed. And so now you're getting to the stage where the kind of pool of investable companies is of a reasonable quality. The financials might not always be there for sure. We're still in the early stages of getting to, like, let's say, profitability and cash flow, but there is enough growth in this industry, and there's enough technological innovation, and there's enough kind of business model innovation to suggest to us that this is now kind of the real thing happening.
Right. So before we really dive into SpaceX, which obviously with its IPO today is it's kind of in the front of everyone's minds, I'd say.
Of course.
Even one of my coworkers put in for I think like 50 shares of it just to see what happens. But before we get to SpaceX specifically, how should investors really be approaching this space economy today? I know you mentioned, launches are getting more frequent and more repeatable as time goes on. Is it mostly a launch story, or is there also a really heavy focus, like you said, on satellites, defense story even, or even something broader?
Yeah, the way we kind of think about it is uh, we're kind of at that inflection point where the existing businesses within space are starting to hit scale and growth and profitability. So great example, satellites, right? Satellite communications. Starlink now with 10,000 satellites, they're going to go to 40,000. And, if Elon gets his way, maybe if even a million, but they're not all going to be the same types of satellites. But it's got great coverage. Bandwidth is increasing. They're going to be adding more bands to the base stations as well. And so you're going to get into this point where it's going to be pretty good, the internet you're going to get on planes. And people always forget there are 4 billion people on this planet that have poor or no internet connectivity whatsoever. So there's a massive kind of, let's call it TAM or addressable market here for better communications on Earth. 'Cause that's kind of just stage one. So like those businesses are already hitting their stride. Launch, I think, is at this point where the costs have come down. We can repeatably do missions into low Earth orbit at what I would say are reasonable costs now, and those costs keep coming down. Now, not everybody can do it, right? We saw what happened with Blue Origin.
Oh yeah, for
It's still
sure.
really difficult to do, and which kind of shows you the value of SpaceX. Like, if you control launch and if you control launch at cost, you can then squeeze out all of your competitors because you prioritize whatever goes on that rocket, right? So it's probably going to be a Starlink satellite, not a competitor satellite. Um, then I think as these launch costs come down, we start to be able to build infrastructure in orbit. And there's some things, as you people know, that are just done better in space. And some things where it's still maybe an unproven business model, but it's not an unproven technology. So an example of things that are done better in space is manufacturing. So, making certain things in space is just better. Growing crystals, some protein production, some semiconductor manufacturing steps of them. Because you're in a pure vacuum, it's just easier and better and cheaper. And our companies are testing that out. So once you can put that infrastructure in there, you can start to make stuff. Now, the ultimate dream, of course, is you can once you're free of the Earth's gravity, you can start make stuff to go to outer space as well. And that's part of the story there too. But you can kind of see that makes sense, right? Send something up there. Once the launch cost, the fixed cost of launching it up there is low enough, then you can start harnessing that variable cost of manufacturing cheaper up there. The obvious other step is this idea of data centers in space. You saw it last week. SpaceX unveiled kind of their prototype kind of satellite, or let's call it data center in space. The logic of it is quite clear. I mean, there's a lot of debate about it, but you're effectively, as an investor, you got to think of it in really simple terms. You're trading the fixed cost of launching something into space for essentially the variable cost of free energy. Because up there, the sun's radiation is, not lost in the atmosphere, and you essentially get infinite power. And that's a key constraint. There are use cases for these satellites. I think more in terms of autonomous vehicles, humanoid robots, anything that needs low latency and coverage everywhere, kind of makes sense to use that sort of AI. So what I'm saying here is that you've got developed business models that are ramping in terms of their cash flow. You've got new business models that are pretty much right on the cusp of the horizon, and then you have everything that comes after it. And so to underwrite space investing and the space economy right now, you don't really need to think about Mars or the moon. They're all kind of just nice to have things that might develop in 10 years' time, but they aren't the thing that you can be betting on.
Fair enough. So it's not just like some have hinted at. It getting these launch costs down. It's not just cheaper rocket ship rides. Like I think it was Blue Origin that was doing a lot of that with some celebrities and stuff.
Yeah.
It seems to set up entirely new business models, is I guess what you're getting at there.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like any other technology. Like once you have costs come down, things just become possible. And I think the one thing people need to think about that are our two core lessons from this, things that are possible that already we know will work, right? So they're kind of less risk. They're just a question of like once the math works, that makes sense, we'll do that. And the second thing that we've learned from if you study the history of technology innovation is things we haven't thought of yet, but are going to become obvious once these costs are much lower. That to me, I think, is what's really exciting. And the beauty of the launch cost trajectory is a lot of the risk has been retired, right? And I'm not saying, SpaceX rockets might not blow up at some point. Maybe they will, but we have retired a ton of risk. We are kind of at that final stage where we have fully reusable rockets, and I think that will bring the cost down substantially from then on.
And so In other tech cycles, which I mean, I would directly regard this as another type of tech cycle personally. Falling costs have created demand that you could say many didn't even foresee happening. Not a lot of predictions for some of the demand that gets created with these falling costs. And so you're kind of saying that that's where space is entering now. They're kind of entering into that area of falling
Yeah,
costs, increasing demand.
exactly. Like think of it this way. When electricity was first discovered, people just thought, oh, it's just going to be better light, right? But think about where we're at now. So
Yeah.
it's kind of the same sort of analogy I would bring with space. Like people think space now means just, better satellites, but think about all the possibilities that we're not thinking about. And as those costs come down, you're solving the immediate problem, but actually there's so many other things that will come into view.
That's fair, I'd say. So how would you say, how important, I guess, would you say is that shift from these one-off, highly engineered space assets to that mass production? Because I think it'll also, one of the major talking points is there would be shorter satellite lives, lower orbit constellations that you had mentioned. Where is the real focus moving forward there?
Yeah, look, I think the satellite situation is just, it's incredible the transformation that's happened. Like, we've gone from these geostationary satellites that were very expensive, engineered to live for 20, 25 years. And it was just like a completely different business model to one where, you're launching like hundreds of satellites. That's kind of the plan. And if you do some of the analysis, and I think that's kind of one of the short-term growth vectors in the space economy. If you look at the way just the orbital slots and regulator and like the planned launches that are going to be taking place, the CAGR of launches of payloads into space is about 40% a year. That's a very powerful growth vector, if you ask me. That's underlying everything that's going on in the space economy. But going back to kind of satellites, look, yeah, it's a completely different mentality if you have to build one thing that costs $600 million versus building lots of different small things. And they're still not cheap, but they're nowhere near that kind of price point. And so it allows you to experiment. And what we know is, especially Starlink, they use like consumer electronic grade parts in those satellites because their development was so fast. They wanted to just go try stuff. And it's much faster to call up, a manufacturer of consumer electronics parts and be like, can you give me this chip or this thing? Versus having to go and engineer the whole thing for that particular environment. And as you point out correctly, Nicholas, the way low Earth orbit works is that you can't just have stuff up there for that long. Typical life, I think, is 5 to 10 years. So eventually the orbit, because you slow down a little bit every time you circle, eventually you fall out and you burn up in the atmosphere. And so if you've got that kind of depreciation, if you think about it, you're not going to put really expensive things on it. You're going to just try cheap things. I think in one of the spaces we were talking about, there was an anecdote of like just using like a really cheap toy motor for the opening of the wings of the
Yeah.
satellites and that kind of stuff. That's the mentality. Like, let's just try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't, it's fine if we lose this asset. Essentially, that it's a huge shift in mentality, and it's also permeating how governments think about space and how other companies are thinking about space.
Fair. So to kind of touch a little bit on the topic that I think everybody in the audience is champing at the bit for, SpaceX kind of went from being an almost entirely private market story. Elon likes to do a lot of things. He obviously when he purchased Twitter, he took that private pretty immediately, and it's kind of developed from that to something public investors are really, they don't have a choice but to take it seriously. It's launching at a massive valuation on the Nasdaq.
Hmm.
How does this shift sort of change the space investing conversation? Because like you said, SpaceX is kind of SpaceX with Starlink as well. They've kind of been the big success story that's sort of fueling this push, I would almost say.
Yeah, yeah, it's an incredible company. When we first started to study this as we were preparing to build this kind of pure play space ETF, we just felt like it was like worth the effort to go through and figure out how to get in the private market because it was such a transformational business for everything. They're responsible for the launch costs coming down. They're responsible for changing the business model. Right now with the troubles that Blue Origin has had, they control the gateway to space, which is launch at cost, and they can start to prioritize and scale up new businesses before other people can because they can launch them and other people can't. So Elon kind of figured it out that you need once you figure out these rockets, and it was just aggressive engineering and just moving quickly, trying it out, and being able to have the capital, as you said, in the private market to back it. But SpaceX didn't raise that much funding for this. Like it genuinely is pretty amazing success story of getting, creating a ton of value in a fantastic business through just sheer kind of perseverance and engineering. And of course, there were setbacks in the early days, like if you read the history of it. But it is really incredible what they've achieved as a business, um, and created what we're seeing today in the IPO.
One analogy that I thought was pretty cool that Tema had in discussing the NASA ETF is that having a space ETF without SpaceX is the equivalent of having a semis ETF without Nvidia. Do you still feel pretty strongly about that analogy?
Absolutely, and really, it's not a reflection of the market. I'm talking Nvidia like 5, 6 years ago, before ChatGPT, before
Right.
people kind of knew about it. Like it's for the people who spend time understanding how important a single company can be in transforming an industry. Um, they are the ones driving down the launch costs, right? Like launch costs were stuck at about 10,000 per kilo um, during the shuttle program for such a long time.
Just thinking
30
about that
years.
amount of money for one launch breaks my
Yeah.
brain. I think that's
Yeah.
something a lot of people don't realize is at scale how much money that really is.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and now we're getting bigger rockets that can fit more. I mean, Starship's going to be a heavy lift, and so you get more stuff on there per launch. The costs are coming down, and should it be reusable? Well, that's amazing. But the reusability, I don't know if I've talked about it before. It's a really big challenge, right? Because you're talking about really, really, really high temperatures when you re-enter the atmosphere. I mean,
Right.
everything burns up there. People ask us like, "Oh, well, so what happens? Do those satellites just drop on people's heads?" I'm like, "No, like we're talking like 5,000 degrees Celsius. Like it burns like everything. Like there's nothing that has a melting point above that. Like so,
Straight
it just
vaporized.
straight vaporized. I mean, there may be like some debris. I don't know exactly, but like very, very unlikely anything survives. And can imagine trying to get a rocket up and down over that, right?
Right.
Like the shuttle, it had a surface that was made of specially engineered ceramics, right? And it would take 9 months to replace those ceramics so
Oh,
that it can try to re-enter. Now, of course, that's not workable, right? And so we have to find new ways to do it. But this reusability rate is going to be really important. But so I digress a little bit, but like this is a real fundamental company in this area. And and it's not just about its stock market or its private market value. It's really about the engineering, the business model value that they've delivered. So, they've got the biggest space constellation. They are responsible for 50%, I think even now 80% of all launches taking place. They're used by everybody, the US government, to deliver payloads into space. And they're continuing to innovate and develop with new satellites. We've got the version 3 coming for Starlink. We're going to have these AI satellites. They're kind of pushing and pushing and pushing. So very similar to kind of the roadmap trajectory that NVIDIA has. If you control those kind of key choke points, you basically are the business of AI, or in this case, space.
so kind of in that same destruction. See, I was having trouble talking earlier too during the trading show. Just in that same discussion, I guess just a little bit of pushback that I've seen from some investors as we move forward with SpaceX coming into the public investment discussion. There's still that concern that the sector as a whole, there's obviously we're going to see more competition, we're going to see more innovation because of that competition, but there's also the concern that the whole sector might be relying too much on one company. And you did mention, I think you mentioned 80% of all launches happening are them.
In
How d-
Q1, yeah, we're
how
SpaceX,
does
yeah.
how does Tama see that changing moving forward? Because you guys are obviously actively managed, and I know you guys kind of like to snipe out lesser known companies, possibly overseas and everything as well, which we'll get to. But how do you feel about that? About that contradiction that some investors are positing that it might be too heavily reliant on SpaceX.
Look, I think it's fair to say that this isn't easy what they've achieved and are kind of have this dominant position and launch. But there are plenty of other companies that are going to be able to do this as well. And I think once they've understood that you need to be vertically integrated, that you need to build at scale, that you need to kind of risk stuff. And so we think there are probably going to be one or two even in the US that are going to be launch providers. You don't like the customers are asking constantly for some diversification, right? Because they can't be reliant on one company. And the same thing is happening internationally. If you look at Germany, Japan, Italy, France, they're all trying to build their kind of equivalent of a space like a space champion in launch. And the history in Europe is, they're very, very competent at launch. They have companies that can do that. And so they are going to try to push those companies to build bigger rockets and to get payloads into space. Germany is pushing really hard to develop its own kind of national champion. I think it's important that you have this kind of interesting kind of intersection from an investment perspective. You have one very strong company, but you've got all of these other providers that are going to be prioritized. It's the same thing happened in AI with NVIDIA, if you think about it, right? NVIDIA still dominates. It was a dominant provider, but now you have, Broadcom, you have Marvell, you have MediaTek, and you have all the hyperscalers developing their own silicon for specific applications. I think that it, and where did that come from? It came from the customer. The customer was like, I can't just be reliant on this one supplier. I need to try to figure out how to diversify this. The profit pool is there. I think a similar thing is going to be happening in governments around the world, and some providers are going to need these launch capabilities. So it's coming, the competition, but that's not to say that that's going to be easy to do and SpaceX is going to lose its dominant position. But it kind of it's almost like you're at this equilibrium point where it is a dominant company. There'll be competition, but the competition will scale up, and there's plenty of market to go around for everybody, is how I
Fair
think
enough.
about it.
And we might even see some other companies start branching out. I know with the whole shtick with these AI data centers, just broader data centers, especially from the Nvidia point of view, we saw a lot of the big players kind of stop making consumer grade stuff in favor for these data centers. I mean, we even had
Mm,
the Savior came in a pretty unexpected package. We had a Japanese toilet company that has started
mm.
making consumer grade RAM to kind of fill that gap. But back to a little bit about what you said regarding SpaceX. A lot of people, and self included, might say, this is a great company, but that valuation is terrifying. So, from Tema's NASA point of view, how do you kind of separate that business quality from the stock price in the long term?
Yeah, it's a great kind of point that everyone should think about, right? And I really recommend everyone in the audience to do their own work, to kind of think about the company in an objective way. We'll have our views as investors. There's going to be plenty of views today, duking it out in the market. uh, the way we sort of, let's say, justify or we think about valuation of SpaceX is we focus a lot on the businesses that exist today where the TAMs are real and kind of addressable, if you will. So, of course, the S1 for SpaceX has this enormous TAM number, probably the biggest TAM number I've ever seen in any S1 or any perspective or any presentation. It's about the size of the US economy. Most of it comes from the AI side, but we kind of rather focus on like what's real, like what are the businesses within SpaceX that you can kind of underwrite from a valuation perspective. I think the Starlink business is very valuable, right? It's growing. It's going to be added. It's adding users. It's adding satellites. It's cash generative, and I think that's the big thing for us. Like it's 60% EBITDA margins. It is a very good business, and it's going to be generating cash and real value. And we did a bit of analysis, even a sort of very rudimentary kind of analysis, thinks about, you know, imagine those 4 billion people I mentioned that are kind of without internet or poor connectivity. If you kind of picture a world in the next 5, 10 years where 300 million of those people are going to be signing up for, let's say, a Starlink terminal, right? It's not like a ridiculous number, right? So you've narrowed it down to a smaller percentage, people who can afford it. The price of these Starlink terminals is going to come down. Right now it's about $100 a month. So even if you put it at like $50, so it's halved by that point, those numbers at the EBITDA levels that they're doing, you can generate 100, 125 billion of EBITDA as a business. So to me, that's much more infinitely analyzable and underwritable than saying going to Mars. And so when you're thinking about SpaceX, it's kind of all of these different parts. You've got that bit that is underwritable. You've got essentially before the whole AI business within SpaceX, well, it's flipped from basically a negative to what we think is a bit of a positive. I think they've realized it's difficult to compete with the labs. We might still try, but we've got these really valuable resources that we've put up very quickly, the Colossus 1, Colossus 2 data centers. Let's make some money off of them. And they've signed deals with Anthropic and Google recently to generate real cash. So again, another source of real cash to sort of underlie the evaluation of this business. And then as I mentioned, launch, well, launch, yeah, it's loss making, but this is the kind of, as I've said before, like the gateway, right? Without this launch capability and the whole vertical integrated, businesses are not going to be able to get what they want into space. And so SpaceX can prioritize its own payloads and build a strategic position that has massive strategic value. So if you kind of combine all of those together, I can see how, well, we can see how you can justify these types of valuations. You do have to look forward, and you do have to underlie those things, and hopefully well, that's what we think will happen. But again, I do encourage investors just have a look at yourself at the financials and think about this as analyze it in your own way.
Fair answer. And as always, Yuri, I always appreciate your honesty about how people really do need to do their own due diligence, or they just start punting money at stuff just because someone said so. So
Absolutely.
I always appreciate that take from you. So how do you view companies like Rocket Lab, AST, Space Mobile, other names in the space? Because I know a lot of people tend to think companies like Rocket Lab are almost entirely a launch story. But I think it could pose the argument that the market's starting to understand broader space systems than just that.
Yeah, look, I think there's a couple like let's work our way kind of top down, right?
Sure.
Right now, as investors, some people might know about space, but the majority of the stock market probably doesn't know about space or hasn't looked at it properly. And I think now with the IPO of SpaceX, it's coming into benchmarks, whether they come in tomorrow or in a year's time. It's it's a big company, it's IPOing, it's in the stock market. You need to know about it. And you also need to know about the area that it operates in. So you're gonna have to start looking at some of its peers and companies and understanding, what are the advantages, disadvantages, what are some of the values there. And so each individual company that you mentioned, I think needs to start thinking about like where do they belong in the space ecosystem over the next 5, 10 years? What is their value? What are they bringing? To us, a company like Rocket Lab, I think is very interesting. We just talked about the competition. I think they've understood they need to build a vertically integrated company. They want to be the number 2 in the United States in terms of launch. They've got a medium launch vehicle coming soon. They're trying to scale that cost advantage, desperately need more launch capacity. So I think that there's a room for these extra players. And so we kind of think it's kind of the second largest launch provider. It's vertically integrated, and most of the customers want a second provider. And with the kind of upcoming medium lift Neutron rocket, it's a business that's going to reach also profitability and cash flow, hopefully in the next year or two. So like I can kind of see that value, right? You can see it as a sort of complement to SpaceX. Like people are going to be like, okay, who's number 2? This
Right.
always happens in the stock market, right? People always want to know who's number 2. Are they credible? Can they get there? Maybe I'll back them, right? And obviously the valuation difference is massive. So the question is, which valuation is the right one, right? And that's how you can kind of justify or think about Rocket Lab.
So just kind of
If
like
you
running that same NVIDIA analogy, you could view it as like NVIDIA versus AMD or Intel, for example.
Perfect example. The question is like, does AMD deserve a space in this or not?
Right.
And that's for investors to analyze. So think about, we think yes. And so, but then thinking about AST obviously pioneered kind of this idea of direct to device, right? Those are very different satellites to the ones Starlink has, right? Because to 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 catch a signal, a radio signal from a mobile device, like you have to have massive antenna, right, up in space. And that is a difficult challenge. And AST have managed to kind of do that with a satellite constellation. And they also have commercial relationships, which is another thing I think that's very valuable, right? And also probably should be telling the listeners like we're at that stage, right? Like these are developed business, like there are relationships. They have relationships with, I believe, 50 different mobile carriers. Those aren't easy to do either, right? And getting those relationships in
Right.
place. So the question is, it has value, but there's competition coming for ASD, like Starlink, Amazon. They all want to do direct to device, and Starlink particularly is working on this idea of direct to device soon. Um, so just for everyone who's watching to understand the difference, right? Like if you want Starlink today, you have to buy one of those little satellite dishes that they've got. You have to place that in your home. Direct to device is literally you turn on your phone and do it. But sometimes when you're lost out there and your mobile phone at the top just has this little SOS sign,
Yeah.
or you can go to your mobile carrier and say, I'll pay $10 a month or $20 a month to have satellite connectivity, which means you literally can make calls anywhere. And often the people listening and when I talk, they're not part of the 4 billion that don't have internet, right? But if anyone's been out there in rural communities in less developed countries, at sea, in air, it's dead, right? There's
Gone.
nothing.
Yep.
And so that's the value, right? And we're not always those customers. And so as much as I'd love there to be no internet on airplanes so you can just have a quiet moment away, I think the reality is moving more and more towards that. And so going back to the value of AST is kind of those commercial relationships, constellation in place, so that they're building out and launching. And the question, of course, is whether competition is going to come for them. But I think that's how people should be thinking about these types of businesses in the space economy.
Thank you. So, going back a little bit to something you said earlier, you mentioned that governments are kind of waking up to the importance of getting into, I don't want to call it a space race, been there, done that. We already did that in the 60s. But you could kind of equate it to that a little bit because governments are starting to see that they need more space capabilities. And so, how big of a driver, from Tema's point of view, is that sovereign demand, and how much do you think it's going to influence the actual commercial side of things as we move forward?
So massively, I think. We the underlying drivers of government spending on space is still there, right? But it's
Right.
not something that we major on in NASA because we think the commercial side is growing much faster. And we prefer kind of the governments that are realizing that you need to be like the commercial side to really deliver what you want to achieve. And so we are investing in some businesses that are listed abroad that are being kind of essentially built up as the national champions for particular countries. Great example of that is in Germany, OHB. There's actually a private company which I think will come to the market at some point as well, which is going to become the German champion. I mean, Germany's committed at least 30 or 40 billion euros over the next 5, 7 years to spend on space specifically. They want to build their own constellation for the government to use for, defense and civil purposes. They want to build a national champion for launch, etc. But that's not really been the case always. The history of space has been one of people collaborating. The loads of American rockets used like Russian-built engines to get up to space. It is, the International Space Station. All of these things were about collaboration. I think we're getting to that point where people are realizing this is really important. I need to be there. How do I build a national champion? But equally, how do I learn from the success of SpaceX and others and bring that commerciality into it? And I think that's an important driver why some of these endeavors are investable and will succeed.
So, just a little on NASA itself, NASA, your TemaETF. It's actively managed, which we kind of touched on a little bit before. Why is that so important in the space sector specifically? Maybe, even compared to the semis. What makes actively managing these so important? Because I know the last time we discussed, you mentioned that you guys also have some like pre-IPO accessibility. You have access to private companies in some instances. What does actively managed look like for space where things seem to be changing pretty quick?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, Tema at its core is an active manager. And what we think about active management, we think about it in kind of three different ways. The first is about identifying kind of quality exposures, right? Because often you can get excited about a theme, but the companies that seem to fit the theme are actually very, very low quality. They're have over-levered balance sheets, promotional management teams, all of that kind of stuff that's very difficult to identify. When we're building a thematic ETF like space, the growth factor is so powerful, right? But you can kind of lose it by being backing the wrong horse in that race.
Right.
The second bit is what you said, which is things change really quickly. There's evolutions, both business models, types of companies, and you need to be forward looking, not backward looking. And indexes are often very backwards looking, right? And when it comes to fast evolving spaces, um, like what we're seeing today. Uh, Things will change and we'll need to adapt. And I think an index provider will just be stuck in that. So a great example of that is um, legacy satellite operators. Lots of our kind of competing space ETFs, they're full of those companies. We're kind of relatively underweight those. We prefer kind of newer satellite operators. Especially we're underweight the legacy operators that have no spectrum. Those to us are just not that interesting, right? Because spectrum is valuable. Clearly, you've seen that with the transaction you had with Amazon, but everything else, it's kind of slow growing, very backwards looking, and not something that we want that's exciting. And so that's a great example, right? On paper, a legacy satellite operator fits the theme. It's space, it's satellites, but actually when you get down to it, it's not part of the future of what space looks like. And
Right.
that's where I think active management is really valuable. And then the third and final thing is kind of finding those let's say the gems before other people do. We spent a lot of time finding the interesting supply chain companies. None of our competitor ETFs have it. Honestly, I'm not sure why they don't. I think it's down to the fact that it's easier to just put in the more obvious names, and there you have it. You've built a space ETF, but it's a very backwards looking ETF because it's not kind of deciding between the different merits and also finding a full universe of these companies. A supplier into the space economy right now, that's a great place to invest. Launch, as I said, 40% a year, right? Um, they are getting more and more content on these things. And so it's a serious growth industry and you're not taking any of the real risk, right? Because and often you're cheaper and higher quality as a business because you're a supplier, you're getting cash flows, getting prepayments, you have high margins. All of that stuff makes a fantastic business and our passive ETFs just overlook it. So it's those three things, right? And then underlying all of this, which is kind of what I'm getting at, and really the core of Tema is risk management. That's what we're doing. We're managing the risks on behalf of us, our investors. You've got this great, exciting area, but it's full of risks, low quality companies, missing those interesting opportunities and being in the wrong ones. That I think is the reason why you want to be active in this.
So there's a general premise as well, especially if we're talking about getting on things that are, really early on in their own business journeys on, to their own rights, some of those getting in early that you were mentioning. How do you keep the ETF kind of grounded in these businesses, grounded in reality, instead of kind of drifting off into cool ideas that might not monetize? Because I know you mentioned sometimes, hey, sometimes you're gonna pick the wrong name. The hype is there, but maybe the reality, it doesn't really play out. How do you kind of juxtapose that with this huge potential sector, but also huge risk and position sizing at the ETF?
Yeah, this is really something that hits right at the core. It's about risk management. Like it's about the risks that you want to take. We see space at this kind of beautiful intersection where there are existing businesses that are just ramping, and there are others where it's like quite clear that the TAM's right in front of them, right? I think if you're a naive investor and you're coming at this, you're going to try to underwrite a load of technological and a load of like future risks because they seem much more exciting and interesting. But what you want to do is when you're building a risk management portfolio is have a balance of those things. Those are the options. You probably don't want to pay for those too much, but you want to pay up for things that are realistic and are going to happen and definitely value the cash flows that you have today from existing businesses, but also be in all of the forward-looking side and not the backward-looking side. That to me, that's kind of the value of it, right? Like and so pick the risks. That's key, right? So what we don't do is we really try not to underlie a ton of technological risk. Like in space, the history of that is usually failure, right? You want to be a launch provider, for example, that has crossed that point where they're consistently launching, that's valuable, really valuable, because it's not easy to do at all. Similarly, like some of this orbital infrastructure, like you want to see it kind of work. And so you want to look at stuff where it's like it's just the next iteration. A data center space is like it's no different to any other satellite. Like satellites are already punching loads of computing power up there. We're just adding a bit more computing power, making a bigger satellite. So there's kind of limited development risk, right? Whereas if I told you, what about a lunar space station or like lunar base station? Like there's a ton of unanswered questions there. So you shouldn't be paying up for that as much as you would be paying up for orbital infrastructure, for example.
That makes sense, I think. And so, you know, some thematic products, and I've taken a look at quite a few. I'll probably interview a couple others that are kind of getting into the space area as well. A lot of times you'll see them really chase that potential for maximum upside, but it seems like Tema's a little bit more calculated than that. So how does Tema think about giving investors exposure without turning the product into pure speculation and hype?
Yeah, it's not easy to do. You just have to be kind of grounded in some of these key principles of risk management, right? I think it's fair to say, and our ETF is one that we're trying to keep investors invested in us in the long run, right? We really believe in the space economy. We think that this is a powerful growth vector, and we've entered this inflection point. But we want you to we want to prudently manage as fiduciaries that capital through this transition as we transition between the different stages. And doing that, the key thing is not to try to speculate too much or to have, take outsized bets on things that we think are, very, very difficult to come to reality. Sure, if they do work, you could probably, it will be the next biggest thing. But the history of technological innovation is like there's plenty along that kind of falling cost curve to prove out as good profitable businesses. So it's about prudent management of capital over the long run, right? We want people to be invested in this in the long run, and the surest way to not be invested in it is to just blow it all on speculative technologies.
Right, that makes sense. And so just generally we talked about, orbital manufacturing as being one of the major goals and high potential aspects of the space development. I think your answer to this question, if I asked it 5 years ago, would be pretty different than what it'll be now. But how close does it feel we are to space manufacturing becoming a reality rather than just an idea or a science experiment?
Um, I think we're probably, well, we're like maybe in the first or getting into the second inning of this. So, and there's a company that we were talking to, they're going to be bidding on the replacement for the International Space Station. And what they were telling us is like there's capacity for stuff on that space station. And what they're seeing is there are companies that want to manufacture that are actually bidding for that capacity. And so those slots are essentially sold out. And that tells me that it could be experiments and government funded things, but by the sounds of it, there are people who want to put actual assets up there already. There are a couple of companies that have actually already tried, particularly with growing crystals and some of the protein manufacturing of putting stuff and testing it out. But until launch costs, I think, come down a bit more, it probably still is in the kind of we are ready to go. We've maybe done the experiments, but until you get into scale manufacturing of this, we're not there yet. So we're not starting to get into that thing. But remember, I don't need it to work today. What I need is in the space economy is kind of this evolution of different stages. I have some businesses that are generating cash flow and are real and going after a very clear addressable TAM, and some businesses where it's like going to be the next stage as soon as the launch costs come to unlock that. And then I have others that are a bit more, that I'm not paying up for, where it's a lot more speculative in the future.
And so just kind of on your mention earlier as well, part of what makes things like this kind of possible is, the extreme cold of space in a vacuum. And if we just look at things like data centers, one of the major issues they're facing is that of cooling. And so how realistic is it, let's say 5 to 10 year time frame, we might start seeing these data centers be spacebound where, cooling it kind of handles itself in that regard. How much of a reality is that becoming?
So when I first started researching data centers in space, I thought, this is just some stupid marketing idea. And I think since then, I would say there's been a couple of kind of brothers. Like I read quite a lot about it. The second thing is I'm starting to see very credible companies working on these ideas and developing stuff w within them. But the concept you're saying, it kind of makes sense, right? It's you launch it up into space, so that has a fixed, quite expensive cost right now. You put it up there, and you have infinite energy because the sun's radiation is right there. So you open up the solar wings, and that's it. It's kind of powered forever. People kind of forget that, we capture like a billionth of the amount of energy that the sun generates. The sun is
Right.
essentially infinite energy right there, at least for the purposes of our kind of civilization. I The other part is cooling, right? It's very, very cold in space and it's a complete vacuum. So cooling actually undergoes a completely different you do the chips heat up, they create kind of radiation, but you need to kind of fan it away, if that makes sense, rather
Yeah.
than having to actually cool it in the senses that we do on terrestrially. So that's a massive advantage as well. So there are kind of advantages to it, that it kind of starts to make sense as a concept, and you have very credible companies looking into it. So to us, and then the third bit is these applications that I think it's going to be used for. You know, in low Earth orbit, these satellites have very good latency. So if you're doing autonomous vehicles or whatever, and you need the AI to process quickly, obviously kind of makes sense to put it up there in terms of inference. So there are kind of logical reasons for it. There's a great Ars Technica article actually just going through all of it in detail about whether the physics of this works and whether it's just hype or not. And I think more and more people are coming around to the fact that it is. I often do get asked like, oh, is it just going to replace all data centers on Earth? I don't want this data center in my backyard. I'd rather have it up in the sky. I don't think it will. I think it's just going to be incremental capacity to existing terrestrial data centers because of those new applications that it's going to be used for.
Right. Fair enough. Thank you, Yuri. So kind of milestone wise, what kind of developments do you guys at Tama want to really see start getting struck in the next like 2 to 3 years? What's really going to drive the notion that true optionality is starting to come to fruition?
Mm, that's a great question. I think the biggest by far is Starship working. Starship is the heavy lift reusable rocket, which is going to be massive, right? And that will take costs down even further. That I think is something we're watching quite carefully. There's lots of tests going on. That's a big thing. The second thing is these new satellite types, the Starlink version 3, the AI satellites that they want to build, seeing those actually launch and be in space. But you can quickly see, like, I'm not talking about like that you need these crazy advances like space elevators or lunar stations or whatever it is. We just need some of the real like basic stuff that we've been working on for a long time to kind of come to fruition for the next stage to be unlocked and for this to be a really nice growth driver as we work on the other ones. Um, so I think that to me is probably the most interesting, the two things that we're watching over the next 2, 3 years that are really important. The third is getting, more and more competitors being able to open up launch because the more launch we can do, the more competitors come in, the more innovation you'll have in actual orbital infrastructure. So we're watching companies carefully that are able to do this, right? Whether it's Rocket Lab, Firefly, or any of these other businesses, Avio, etc.
So I guess as we come up a little closer to our hour here, if there were if investors in the audience, interested about NASA, these ETFs that revolve around the space sector, if investors only remember one or two things from this conversation, what do you think stands out the most of our topics to really keep people's attention?
Um, I think everybody has got to learn about it. So I think learn about the different companies, right? I mean, look at the space businesses, get comfortable with some of the core trajectories of some of these companies, understand the different business models. I think that there's plenty of there that is interesting as a body to start to get familiar with it. And it's gonna have to be everybody. Like I think SpaceX, if the valuations are correct of the IPO, it could be like 3% of the market, right? It's a big old company, and people need to kind of know how this works. Um, but I think ultimately it's just understanding how some of these launch cost trajectories work and the implications it has for different business models. That's probably the most powerful thing investors can learn. You'll have come a long way as an investor, especially in some of these more growth forward-looking areas. If you basically did kind of two things. One is understand how cost curves evolve and react to them and what new business models come. Whether it's genetic sequencing, semiconductors, all of that stuff. Like if you really know how it works, you're gonna be ahead of other people to understand their implications. And you don't have to predict the future. You just have to watch what's happening right now and what it enables. The second thing is well, I think the business model evolution people understand now that things have changed. You
Right.
can see it in the financial, you can see it in the results. But yeah, this idea of launch costs, I think, is very important. Like watching that, seeing that evolve, that's
I
what
think you
people should be
mentioned
watching.
it's falling like 30 to 40% year over year. That's
So most academic studies say about 20 to
20 to
30%.
30. That's still
It
pretty
does
crazy.
it's incredible. I mean, it's not Moore's law, it's not genetic sequencing. So,
Right.
but it is progressing at a very, very good pace. It could accelerate. I think it does depend massively on whether we can crack reusability. That's a big thing, and what the reusability rate will be.
And so I'm going to have the website up for this specific ETF, but just for folks listening, where can they learn more about not just Tema's NASA, but any of your ETFs? Because I know you guys put out a ton of content and information on your ETFs right on your site. So where can people find that? Because it's important. Like you said, you got to learn, you got to check out what
Yeah.
you want to invest in. Where can they find those things?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website, www.temaetfs.com, TemaETFS.com. If you post a link, that would be great. So there's two things you should go to. Check out the webpage for each of the ETFs. So for NASA, it's /NASA. There's kind of why you want to invest, look at the top holdings, do some work and analysis. It's all there. And then if you go to the insights page, you're right, because we write a lot and we really want our audiences and our investors to be educated and understand what they're putting their money into and also kind of understand the level of work we're doing, investing their capital. You'll see some analysis, like for example, why we think SpaceX valuation, how to understand it, how to justify it, or there's a bit of analysis about some of the companies, outside of SpaceX and space economy, which people are going to start to want to learn about. Those are maybe some of the two recent articles we've written about space. But as you say, we have lots of interesting ETFs and interesting thematic areas where, we're convinced of those three things, like that this is a long-term structural theme, that there's a quality universe of companies to invest in, and that we think we have the right approach with active management to get at that
Right.
opportunity set.
And you guys do have access, I think, as well via some of these ETFs where investors get private exposure, like pre-IPO
Yeah,
exposure as well.
so this is a recent thing that we're trying to pioneer. As most people know, ETFs are majority liquid underlying securities, but you have the ability to invest in illiquid securities up to 15% maximum of the ETF.
Oh, I didn't know it was that high.
Yeah, it's well, you don't want to be close to that limit
Right, right,
because you can't sell a private holding as easily as you can sell a
right,
public holding, and therefore you have to be careful about managing inflows and outflows and risk management and changes in markets, etc. But there are basically two ETFs that we have today that hold private exposure. What it does as an investor is it just broadens your investor kind of investable universe. So in the case of SpaceX, we have a private holding SpaceX, soon to be public as of today. But we've held that since we've launched the ETF. We think that that was a really important addition. In our durable quality ETF, TOLL ticker, we actually have a stake in Kalshi, the prediction market,
Oh,
which we acquired, which I think is a really interesting business. Toll invests in high quality, durable businesses. Think like infrastructure-like businesses. And a key part of that has always been kind of these financial exchanges. And we've been watching the rise of prediction markets. And as our kind of universe broadened out to privates, we genuinely thought that these are really compelling, strong businesses. And they're also very, very dominant, right? So there's literally two providers, right? Polymarket and Kalshi. Depends how you kind of calculate it, but Kalshi, for example, claims to have 90% North American market share. Actually, if you kind of look offshore, it's about 50-50 between the two
right.
businesses. It's growing super fast, and it's pretty much kind of institutionalizing, which I think is really interesting as a business, right? You've got people using it for hedging. There's Wall Street's getting in onto prediction markets to use it as a tool. The volumes are expanding. There's a lot going on institutionalizing that business. So to us, it was kind of like we look at the financial exchange space carefully. We've owned CME, ICE, CBOE in the past. And so we thought, well, actually, this space is evolving. This is real competition coming in. We think that this is interesting and more as a durable quality business. So we have a stake of about 8-9% of the fund in Kalshi.
Really interesting stuff as always. Yuri, I love doing interviews with you. You're an excellent speaker. You're very honest. I can't thank you enough, as always, for not only sponsoring the show, but coming personally to discuss these things, address some criticisms and the like. Just like you said, folks, TemaETFs.com. The one we're talking about today, for the most part, is their NASA ETF, the Space Innovators ETF. So all you got to do is slap a slash at the end of that and type NASA, and you'll be right there. I think I'm good to send you on your way. As always, Yuri, thanks for coming. Everybody, if you came in late, don't worry about it. I'm going to get this cleaned up, and this entire interview will also be pushed out through our newsletter on Substack, where you'll be able to find it at any time. Thanks again, Yuri, and I really hope we can do this again sometime.
Great. Thanks so much. Bye.